Good evening, treasure seekers. This is Blake coming to you live from New Mexico, and joining me as always from Washington State, it's Bryn and Cody. How's it going, guys?
Good evening. I was laughing listening to our little intro song because a couple people have commented that they have no idea what the lyrics are saying. And I don't think we also have any idea.
Yeah,
Some some AI generated treasure hunting uh ramble.
yeah. It was a one shot, as they say in the AI world. Just put in a prompt and it gave me four options. I chose one randomly, and the rest is history, as they say. So
I
that's our
like it. It's
that's our
catchy.
theme song now. But yeah, I think it's somewhat nonsensical. But yes, sorry about that.
No, it's great.
How
Uh
was your Halloween?
yeah, happy Halloween.
Yeah, it's good. Uh, went to had some friends in town who have a small daughter, so we all tagged along with her to get Halloween candy. There's a neighborhood in town that is known for like good trick or treating. People come from all around to go there, and they have some good candy. So got some full size
Nice.
candy bars that were not suitable for a small child.
Perfect.
Jackpot.
How about you
I'm a
guys?
huge I'm a huge sweet tooth person.
Hmm.
And I did excellent on Halloween itself. Showed so much restraint. I was so proud of myself. And then tonight was the day after Halloween. It snuck up on me all the leftover candy, and I was off the rails.
Got it. You're more of
Off the
a.
rails.
I
I
feel
was
like
so mentally prepared to like have restraint on Halloween itself, and then I lost focus.
so close, but
We
yet
all
so far.
We also started, I'm just gonna say we've started a tradition of now making deep frying donuts for
Mm.
Halloween. We did a trial batch a few days, like earlier in the week, and they turned out pretty good. And then we did a full batch of like Halloween sprinkles, full on deep frying assembly line in our kitchen. They turned out really good.
Sounds great. Maybe I'll be up there next Halloween so I can get some donuts.
Yeah,
Delicious.
I was told better than Krispy Kreme.
Wow. Sounds like you have a new business on your hands.
Yeah.
All right. Should we
Banter
dive?
complete.
Banter complete. Should we dive into little tiny news? So, just a little bit of news from the world of the Unofficial podcast. I think we're next week we're planning on having a special episode, the state of There's Treasure Inside 2025, since it will be pretty close to a year anniversary of the release of There's Treasure Inside by Jon Collins-Black. I think the idea is if there's somebody new coming into the treasure hunt, I don't think there's really a good resource, in my opinion, for a 36,000 foot view of the treasure hunt, as one would say, to get somebody up to speed quickly. So I think what we'll do is talk a little bit about each of the part two boxes and a bit about the Lion Share box, talk about kind of popular areas that people are searching in some of these boxes, important information from interviews that people might not know about if they're new to the hunt. So, for example, the Forrest Fenn box is not in Yellowstone. Like, that's an important piece of information that one would not be able to glean just from the book. So that'll be a little experiment. Hopefully it'll be a good resource that you can point people to if they're new to the hunt to get them up to speed quickly. You guys have comments on that while I cough?
I'm really excited about that because I think it's like it's a pretty big milestone to be a year into this hunt already. And so I think it's kind of like a little, I don't know if like celebratory is right, but it's nice to take a moment to reflect back on the past year of the work everybody's been doing because so many hours have gone into this. And I think it's also just great to hopefully have a wonderful resource, like you said, coming out of this that we can all lure more friends into this hunt with. Because I would feel very overwhelmed if I was just stepping into it now. And so if there's kind of a one-stop shop to feel like you can get up to speed and know what's going on, I think that makes it a lot more approachable to dive into the book and want to join the hunt.
Yeah, so look out for that next week. Should we dive into what's more likely?
What's more likely?
All right, what's more likely? I think I am covering that today. I gotta pull up my questions. Question number 1. What is more likely? All you need is inside the book, or all boxes are solved, or clues required come from some outside research?
I think there will be some outside research required to each box. It almost just doesn't seem possible to me that you could go through and literally solve it with just what you have in the box. Or sorry, in the chapter. And he also tells us, like, if you feel like there's something you should be looking into further, maybe that's just my intention, hint, hint. So I think he's even guiding us in that direction. I will say, and we are of course guilty of this too. A lot of the rabbit holes that anyone in the community that we've seen going down, like a lot of them, we do need to keep in mind the intent is the meat and potatoes is in the chapter. So it is a wonderful reminder. But if I have to pick a side, I'm going to go with there has to be some outside research as well.
Cody?
Yeah, I'd be really surprised to hear that anyone disagrees with there needing to be some sort of outside research. And I hate to critique your question too much, but I almost think a better question would be, what's more likely? Everything you need is in the book, or you need any sort of like physical thing outside of the book, which would also include like hardware or software or items. So like, for instance, past and future, everyone's really clung onto the whole something you can excel at, meaning you need Excel. To me, that kind of contradicts the other part where he says all you need is whatever it was, boots and shoes in the book.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, to your question, I would definitely say I think it's vastly more likely that you need to do some element of outside research. I would say to my question that everything can be solved end of sentence period without anything additional to the book physically. But I would also say, I mean, there's also could it be made easier by something physical? I'd be on board with that, but it needs to be able to be solved reasonably as efficiently as if you had that physical thing. I think that's more likely, if that makes sense. So
way to derail it. Yeah, I mean,
sorry to completely not
I mean,
answer your
at
question.
face value, if you take literally all you need is the book, like that's inherently untrue because you need a map, right? He didn't provide a map of the United States in the book, so that would automatically discount that, in my opinion, unless there's something super clever going on. But I'm saying beyond, let's say, map or a Google Maps, you do think that there is research that will bolster, but maybe not be required? Or you think?
I think there's research that's going to be required.
Okay, I would.
I think you could say, oh, if you're someone who just happens to know these things, it wouldn't have been required. But I would think for the average person, additional research would be required. And I think you could take your original statement to some pretty far extremes and be like, you need to know how to read English. It's like, I have the book, but I'm not a native English speaker and I don't know how to read English. So I need to do background research to figure out how to read English, to learn that. So, I mean, obviously that's an extreme, but you can see how there's not a clean cutoff there when it just comes to like Knowledge.
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 Inside joke.
Sorry.
What did you think, Blake?
I think there does have to be some amount of research outside of the book. I think that comment is pretty telling, in my opinion, about that was exactly his intention. If you come across something interesting that you might want to follow up on, I think that's kind of the red carpet being rolled out for outside research may be important, at least for some of the boxes. Just my opinion.
Ooh, rolling out the red carpet. I like it.
How about if you include you need some sort of either software or physical item? Where would you land on that one?
I guess I'm less enthusiastic about that. I mean, software, in my opinion, is the internet that you would need. So I don't know if you consider that software. I don't think you need Excel. I think it would be helpful maybe in the past and future box for the word search is my gut reaction to that intention, but I think you could probably do it by hand. And I know you get excited, Cody, about any sort of physical solve with the book that is only using the book or could be done with tracing paper, things like that, that's not manipulated by software. I guess I'm a little surprised by your opinion there.
Well, a lot of the things that I've done with software in my mind I've been doing them as a way to kind of more efficiently do something that could have been done by hand or kind of brute force check things that would otherwise I would have diagnosed certain hints in the text to like show me actual keywords or phrases instead of just creating, some software or spreadsheet where I can just brute force 1,000 keywords or key phrases and see if anything happens. So I'm using the software, but that would be a case where like if you diagnose the right hint and you could just do it on a pen and paper, maybe it's more in line with the only using the book. Another one that's kind of in the front of my mind when I'm asking the question is like the filters, the filter color papers that people have put over the book. Like in my mind, that's a definite no, because I'm pretty set on. It's kind of hard to find that cut off of what is something else and what isn't something else. I would probably a loose way of categorizing the two would probably be saying like if you'd have to purchase something, that feels like not just the book, not just using what's in the book. So like having to purchase a filter paper to filter out a certain hint or image, that feels like a step too far for me.
Yeah, I guess I'd push back a little bit on that with the caveat that you don't need all the clues necessarily to solve the hunt, according to JCB. That's for the lion's share, but probably applies to the small boxes, the part 2 boxes as well. So I could imagine in my mind a filter or something physical that might be a little sub hint or one hint, but maybe not required for the full solve. So that'd be my argument against, but we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, I disagree on that.
All right.
One kind of interesting thing I wanted to talk about this episode was I went on his I hadn't been on his website since like the beginning. So I went on his website last week and was looking at those FAQs again, just to kind of reorient myself with his original stance on some things. And one of the ones that jumped out to me was, I think the FAQ was, what are the types of clues in this box or in this book? And it says, yeah, like there's all sorts of different types of clues. You won't need them all. And I think just reading like you won't need them all, I don't even know what I want to say that. I just think that was like an important thing to be reminded of, because especially me working on the Pokemon box, like I am certainly digging so deep to try to like scrounge up every single last clue. And I wonder sometimes if I've even like gone too far and confused myself where like if 3 things point to this and I can't figure out 4 and 5, then like at what point do you kind of just say, well, maybe I've figured out enough at that point. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting reminder, and maybe take a look at those FAQs to get kind of a good foundation under your feet again.
No, that's a great suggestion, great idea. I will do that.
The other thing I want to mention from that, sorry, I'm getting us sidetracked, is it asks like, do you have to be in excellent physical health to get to any of the treasure boxes? Which I think we all kind of have a general idea of, like, the answer is no, but he said anyone of, I think, average health was the way he described it. So I think a lot of times I've maybe said like, oh, like your grandparents need to be able to get there, which I guess maybe not like, anyways, the word he uses is average. So that could be helpful.
Agreed. Right. Yeah, definitely recommend checking out the website. I need to do that. I've done it a couple times very early on. But after having a year of research under your belt, probably get a little bit different perspective from that FAQ. So good suggestion. All right, let's do one more. What's more likely? There is a box found in an urban environment, or no box is found in a urban environment. And by urban, in my mind, I would say like pretty close to like a city or neighborhood where houses are, not out in the deep wilderness. So your mileage may vary on kind of what your definition of urban is, but in my mind it would be like, wow, that was right in that city. Even if it's kind of in the suburbs or something like that, like an easily accessible park. What do you guys think? What's more likely?
I love and hate this question at the same time. I could totally see one being hidden in an urban environment. My gut is that they are all in pretty remote place. Maybe not remote. I think they're all pretty well in like nature places removed from a city like setting. And I think that's just kind of like what I feel like when you read these chapters and you kind of just picture where these should be. To me, it feels like they should just be out in nature. This is not any good argument whatsoever. I guess he does say in one interview, like, they're all in very beautiful places to him. So obviously, that's a very subjective thing as well. You could have a very beautiful park in a city. I was listening to one of, what's his name, Olin Threads videos about, I think it was maybe titled like, who is Jon Collins-Black? Or it was kind of talking about like his perception of how Jon Collins-Black would be approaching the hunt, based off of like his interpretation of him as a person, basically. And he was ultimately saying like he thinks Jon Collins-Black would be hiding these treasures in a location of like great self-reflection, and there's an aha moment. And I really liked aha moment, as I keep using the word clever, but it's like I do think in these solves there will be like an aha, I understand. So like the moment of beauty, a moment of reflection, and I guess just to me in my gut, that is more like out in nature with maybe some great vista. Not to say that you can't find that in a urban area as well. So, anyways, that's my take.
I'm going to try and, for the first time in the What's More Likely segments, provide an answer without just talking myself in circles.
Okay.
What I just did?
No, what I've done for all of my answers, though. So for this one, I will admit I'm very, very close to 50-50 on this one, but I would lean, I'll go like 51-49, that one of them is in an urban environment. Full disclosure, I think most of that is just because I think it would be cool. But the other two things I'd probably lean on are the JCB. I feel like he's one of his main focuses in doing 5 different boxes instead of just one box was to make each of the boxes very different and unique in some way. And I know that he's kind of formulated the different solves and used different types of solves for each of the boxes. So I think that could kind of be reflected in where they're hidden as well. They're hidden in kind of vastly different areas. And the second thing is I know that JCB was really focusing on trying to, another reason he used 5 boxes was to try and make the treasure hunt available to as many people as possible. So a lot of people probably can't make their way out into the wilderness, whatever that is, but I think that having one, maybe in a more urban environment would make it available to more people. So weak arguments on both of those, but I think my biggest thing is I think it would be really cool. And yeah, I will plant my flag on that side of the what's more likely.
And Bryn, just to be clear, you're on the side of no boxes will be found in an urban environment.
You're making it so black and white. Yes,
that's the point of the game.
I know. I hate it. Yes, that's where I'm planting my flag.
Okay.
On paper, Bryn and I are opposed.
Yes.
Have opposing opinions.
Correct. And I will agree with Bryn. I think it's more likely that no box will be found in an urban environment. I think they're going to be, as Bryn mentioned very well, somewhere that is beautiful. And it seems like an emphasis is to get out into nature and walk around. So I'll keep mine short. All right, let's dive into horseshoes and hand grenades. Bryn, you have horseshoes and hand grenades today?
I do. And it's not on Pokemon box.
Ooh.
Who's shocked? I'm calling my horseshoes and hand grenades middle of the night past and future box thoughts. So this is going to be pretty short because, well, I have not really been working on past and future box. So I don't have a ton of depth for me to be diving into with research that I'm doing on it. However, I did wake up in the middle of the night a few nights ago and texted you guys a few things that just happened to pop into my mind while I was sleeping, I guess. So I'm basically going to be sharing the text with the rest of you just to maybe throw a few ideas out there that could prompt some different thinking. First, the quote, "where beauty sheens." Okay, so that's in the cryptogram, right? Where beauty sheens. So when I was thinking of that, I thought, well, sheens is really like a surface quality, right? That feels very much like a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 quotes then from the chapter came to mind, not unlike the surface of the moon. So they were talking about another surface quality in a way, and reflecting a state of gold. That kind of, I guess word reflecting kind of tied in with sheen to me.
Agreed.
So what to make of that, I do not know.
How about we had all those Microsoft connections?
For the surface?
Oh, for surface. Okay, yeah. It seems like there has to be something maybe specific with like kind of the shininess of the surface too, right? And not unlike the surface of the moon, I feel like it's kind of dull. So anyways, I don't know. I was just trying to think of different ways that the cryptogram could be kind of integrated with some concepts of the main text of the chapter. I'm saying this as if I had some sort of control over what I was just apparently dreaming. I did not. So, but I do think. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I like this though because I feel like what you're doing is taking a lot of the way that you think about Pokemon box and applying it to past and future box, and it's definitely not a lens that I've been looking at past and future box through. So it's helpful to hear your thoughts on it with your Pokemon lens, your purple filter.
I got my purple filter on this. Yeah, and I think in general there needs to be more. We've talked about this in the past couple episodes. I think needs to be more and maybe there is. I'm not working on the box, so I don't know. I think there needs to be more time spent on the body copy of the poke or the past and feature box chapter and how that relates to the word search and the cryptogram. I think if we can kind of start to intertwine these two things, there's going to be a lot more clarity, hopefully, between the two. Okay, so a second idea that came to mind. This is something that, well, both Cody and an emailer. It's funny because like within 2 days of each other, I got this email and then Cody came home and was like, "Hey, I had this idea." They both connected over, under, in between to learning how to tie your shoes, like the bow to tie your shoes over, under, in between. And so I was thinking about a bow, and I thought, well, a rainbow. And then I was thinking about Zork, and we had the rainbow at the end of Zork, right? And that's kind of also a rainbow is just very like quintessential with finding the treasure. I don't know. It feels right, right? Like a video game
pot of
trope.
gold at the end of the rainbow.
Right. So it could very well be a stretch for me to be connecting that with a rainbow, but I thought it was a very clever idea with over, under, in between. And last, probably weakest, was past post and the cryptogram, past post. And I thought about how post is also like an electronic money transaction. So that kind of ties in with maybe the cryptocurrency, electronic money, currency in general. That's all. That's all I've got. Just a few middle of the night thoughts about past and future box.
No, that's a good point. Post Bitcoin transaction has posted, for example, meaning it's on the blockchain, it's on the ledger. I like that one. I like that one a lot. Going back to your first point, people have mentioned that sleek is mentioned a few times in the chapter. I'm just looking at it now. The top and bottom are glassy smooth. So there are like a lot of surface references. I think it'd be worth going back with a lens to look for those again. But I think it's really good food for thought.
I guess I'm arguing against myself that each chapter should have like a unique solve approach. But yeah, I do think there's probably benefit in trying to rethink maybe what some of these words could be meaning, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'd be worth a brainstorm of other concepts in the chapter. Maybe how some of these keywords would apply to VR, like the Oasis, or apply to the 80s, or apply to games. I don't know. I think there's a lot that could be done with this by trying to. But that being said, thinking about trying to attach some of the word search words, for example, I think would be wise. As you say, intertwine them with some of the text of the main chapter. It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some significant overlap. Like they are part of the same chapter. So it just really feels like there's got to be a lot of ties in between them.
All right.
Sorry for a short horseshoes and hand grenades.
No, that's perfect. Let us dive into the mailbag.
Mailbag. We've got mail.
Okay,
Bryn,
I will
you
keep
have
us rolling.
mailbag today.
Mailbag. Okay, our first one is from Eric. This is super brief, but I just kind of enjoyed the concept of it. So last episode, I think we were talking about the idea of color throughout the book. Maybe it was part of what's more likely. The significance of color and how it starts out pretty heavy in the book, kind of dies off, and then comes back strong. Maybe this idea of painting a mural. Anyways, the concept of color. So Eric just wrote in, he wrote Trivial Pursuit, and then he listed out the color categories and the corresponding categories. So blue, geography, pink, red, entertainment, yellow, history, green, science, orange, red, sports, purple, arts and literature. So I just thought that was kind of fun because I think Trivial Pursuit and those colors and the wedges and like that's just all pretty universal, I think. And it's fun to think through like the potential of maybe finding a way to kind of categorize some clues or organize the book in a certain way through this lens of color. And I totally had not thought of this at all before. Any thoughts?
I'm trying to think through those categories and think of examples in the text right now, just on the fly.
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot. Well, I think it maybe is interesting is blue for geography. If we talk about a blueprint and that being our map, like that kind of lines up, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good connection.
There's an entertainment category, history, arts and literature, science and nature, sports and leisure. I don't have the colors associated with those, though. That's a very interesting concept, and I almost, now that I'm thinking about past and future box, thinking about that as well, because I think Trivial Pursuit was released in the early 80s. If we think about the 80s being a focal point that's mentioned in the past and future box, maybe it's a Trivial Pursuit reference. I don't know. But I like the concept overall. It's interesting. That would certainly be a good pop culture thing that a lot of people would have exposure to.
Yeah, I think maybe even like my bigger umbrella of why this mailbag was so interesting is that I think it is potentially very important to take a step back to try to figure out. I know we've talked about the structure of the book of how we connect a spot, trying to create this map, but taking a step back to try to think through what are some of the other like broad structural approaches that he maybe could have approached the book with. So with some of these certain themes that seem interesting, like how can we take a big picture view of maybe how that could potentially be helpful to us? Because I think it's so easy. I'm 100% guilty of it, like getting so lost in the details. It's really hard for me to take a step back and think of the big picture.
I think joy.
Yeah, I really like. I like anything that allows us to take one kind of category of information and transform it into another category of information. You know, like we can take, in this case, a type of maybe story in the book, like something about sports, and transform that into the color orange, or you can take the color orange and transform it into sports. I feel like it just kind of goes against what I've been talking about of trying to narrow down options instead of create more options. But it just gives us a way to manipulate information in different ways and check if anything comes up or if any patterns emerge. I would say my concern is it seems like using this Trivial Pursuit, being able to change a category into a color or reverse a color into a category, what could we get out of that that would be useful? It would either be a sequence of colors, right? Or a sequence of these 6 different categories. I'm just wondering, I mean, maybe it could be a stepping stone to something else, but the end output of kind of transforming any data using that method seems like it wouldn't leave you with anything too useful, is my concern.
Yeah, as a way of organizing information into bins, I think it would be helpful. And then maybe there's something clever with that. You know, the geography connecting to blue is like very interesting to me, but how would you do that?
Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say that's a good point. Yeah, if you have, instead of like something that's a direct output, it would be more of making connections between maybe parts of the book where like, hey, here's this paragraph where he's talking about something and keeps referencing blue. And here's this paragraph where he's talking about something and keeps referencing something very specific to geography. If we put these two paragraphs together, do we get something interesting? That makes sense. I like that.
As my argument, I guess, against it is, if this is what we're supposed to be doing, it feels like very critical that this would be like a very big thing to have to apply to the book. And then if that's the case, like, are we just kind of supposed to happen upon this concept? I don't think this would have been like introduced. I can't think of any way that this concept would have been introduced otherwise. So as much as I love it, I think I'm maybe a little skeptical of how are we supposed to know to do this, right?
Yeah, it's pretty niche. Thinking about the triangular numbers in the Michael Jordan chapter, right? There was that mention of the scoreboard shining bright red into my eyes or something like that. So just thinking about red and other instances of that having to do with sports, or in this case, science or math, maybe. I don't know. It's a good tickler for the mind to have something in the back of our mind. And I will definitely take this into account going through the color analysis that I'm working on. So I'll keep you posted if I come up with anything brilliant.
Perfect. Yeah, just some different creative ways of thinking, I think is always helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait for it. All right. He uses the word trivial once, and then pursuit a handful of times. So
interesting.
Not
interesting.
nothing.
That's not nothing.
And milkman.
Okay, my next mailbag is actually not a mailbag. It is a YouTube comment. Do not get used to this. Do not submit your. Do not think that if you post on YouTube, it will get used as a mailbag. I just happened to see this, and I thought it was interesting. Okay, this is mostly for Cody. Last episode we talked about the pattern on the Pokemon coin, and oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it now. But in our conversation about the Pokemon box, we ended up on the Flower of Life.
It was the Shippo pattern.
The Shippo pattern. Flower of Life, kind of integrating that with this John Coltrane's Circle of Fifths. We talked about a blog post where someone had discussed how those could be overlapped and maybe some correlation between the two. So the comment was, Flower of Life is a classic quilt pattern too, if you want to weave that into your tapestry. Also in John's email, it drives me nuts that he says, paint a tapestry. You do not paint a tapestry, you weave it. Is this a simple mistake? Does it mean something?
I feel like a tapestry can be painted as well. I will look at that really quickly here with a quick Google.
I don't know. Isn't tapestry like literally a woven thing?
I think it's definitely a woven thing, but I think it has been co-opted quite a bit into art generally. So let me do a quick search.
Okay. Yeah, I guess when I read his email too, it also jumped out to me as being odd. I didn't speak to it, I guess, in the last episode, but it seems kind of like a force of his genreisms, if you will, to force the painting and the weaving, and I didn't know if he was just trying to like squeeze too much in. But I thought Cody would really like the quilting pattern. What's that? What's happening with your
Cody's
eyes?
thinking very hard. I'll let him think a bit more. This is just the AI overview from Google at this time. Yes, a tapestry can be a painting because traditional tapestries often served as a pictorial art form with designs created by painters, and modern techniques exist to paint directly onto the fabric itself. The practice of tapestry painting creates artworks by applying pigments to a textile surface, similar to a painting, rather than by weaving threads to form an image. So that does argue for the YouTube commenter that traditionally a tapestry is woven into fabric to make art. I'll backpedal a little bit on that.
Maybe there's some sort of Hopi culture nuance to it. Maybe there's, yeah.
Interesting.
I guess everything that I looked into is very specific to like weaving with the Hopi rather than an alternative approach. But there certainly could be something little nugget there.
Yeah, I like that. I know we do like the painting part of it because of the murals. The term mural used a few times. But the commenter is right that this is a little bit disparate from the separation between mural and the weaving of a tapestry. So, good point. Good point. Cody, we need your thoughts on this critical tapestry issue or weaving.
I'm at a loss. I don't know. I don't know what I think. I'm just gonna take a breath for a second.
That's fine.
Flustered?
That's fine. You don't have to comment now, but everyone stay tuned for next news segment. We'll put Cody on the spot.
It'd be the opposite of putting me on the spot. Right now I'm on the spot. I don't know. I gotta think about it. I don't know. I have a million thoughts running through my head.
That's a good answer.
Okay.
It shows discipline. You don't have to answer everything. Very good. Very good. All right.
That's all I had for mailbag.
Okay, I have one as well from Matt, which I thought was super cool. So Matt pointed out that the image, I should have written this down, I apologize. There's an image of a Smokey Quartz. It's near page 170. Let's see if I can find it exactly. Sorry. I apologize. Page 171, the 6-figure birthstone. The gemstone is a 200-carat Smokey Quartz cut in a custom design called Beyond Brilliant by Mark Oros. This stone is true to the name of its cut, as it's arguably the most radiant item in our treasure. I'm going to pull up an image, and then Bryn, do you mind taking over for 10 seconds?
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so Matt had made the connection that the lines on the quartz were kind of similar to the lines that we see on the Hopi calendar. And he also said it's a little odd that the quartz is like this large on the page. Why is it this big, kind of overflowing into off the page? So he was suggesting, like, do we overlay these and maybe we get something of interest when we overlay the lines? He even thought maybe some of the lines on that quartz looked like a little not forced, but like maybe modified a little bit or something. Like they look too perfect, I think was maybe what he said. So I went ahead and he said that middle, kind of like the middle section, we have the line on the Hopi calendar for the Katsina and the non-Katsina season. He thought that kind of looked like it potentially would line up as well with those lines. So I went ahead and overlaid them onto each other to see if we could get any good matches.
Yeah, that's just
between the lines.
Why I had the Hopi calendar slightly tilted was to try to match up the angle in the middle of the Smoky Quartz between the light and dark sides. So I will pull up your alignment here, Bryn. Thank you. Sorry, I'm fighting a little cold right now, so that's why I handed it off to you, and not to scare the listeners with a cough. All right. So here's your alignment.
Yeah, so I made the lines pretty dramatic so you could see them. And I mean, of course, like if you look at the 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock hour, like those line up pretty well, of course. But other than that, there's not any super great matches. And I think maybe the biggest thing is the Katsina season differentiation lines did not exactly line up with the lines on the quartz. What is kind of interesting is how it's pretty close to, I don't know what you call that, like the reflection pattern on the lower part of the gem.
Yeah, I thought that was a super cool concept, and Matt pointing out that the images of this smoky quartz, particularly compared to images of a lot of the other gems, is like beyond a full page, right? So is it trying to scale to the Hopi calendar size for that reason? It's kind of like a pointer. I thought that was a super cool concept. I agree, Bryn, that the month lines don't necessarily line up just because of the number of cuts on the gem surface. It's not 12, right? So it doesn't exactly line up, but super cool concept nonetheless. So people are welcome to run with that if they'd like. I thought it was an interesting observation.
Yeah, and a great use of, if we're going to go back to the beginning of the episode, of just using the book in creative ways.
Yep. Cool.
And this is,
yeah, go ahead, Cody. Sorry, I couldn't see you.
Why can't they see me?
It just says
you turned
Cody,
off your camera?
Cody in black text.
How did that happen?
That's fine. Continue. We'll fix it.
Halloween
later.
episode, you're a ghost.
I wonder if I got unplugged or something. It won't let me do it.
That's right.
Huh. I was just gonna say we are saying that the Katsina and not Katsina kind of partition there does line up though.
I think it's a pretty good lineup.
The light and dark part of the smoky quartz.
I thought it's a pretty good lineup. Let's look at it again.
Yeah, it looks like a really good lineup to me. Again, it's another one where it's like, man, that seems like a huge coincidence, but what do we get out of it? I don't know. But the fact that it lines up seems significant. I mean, it looks like it needs to be shifted counterclockwise, like a fraction of a degree to line up perfectly.
Right.
But man, that's really, really close and interesting that would line up in that way. And I think a lot of the points you guys made about how big the smoky quartz is, still hold true. Just with that one part lining up, even when the months don't.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out in my mind how easy it would be to manipulate that particular angle on this picture of the smoky quartz. Like, would it be easy enough just to change the angle of the main light that's shining on it that you could match up to that Katsina angle? I mean, that Katsina calendar, Hopi calendar is pretty well set in terms of that would have to be a particular angle because of the source material that is used. It seems like JCB used either online resources or different resources to come up with his Hopi calendar, because it was very, very similar to, I can't remember the website, Southwest Traditions. Have to go back and look, but it seemed like he copied that Southwest Traditions website's Hopi calendar verbatim. And that also had that same angle on it, differentiating between the solstices. So how would JCB manipulate this image to match the Hopi would be my question, if that's easy or not.
Yeah, I guess I'm going coincidence.
I would lean towards coincidence as being more likely.
It's pretty cool though.
It's super cool.
Again, from a high level perspective, great example of like taking a different creative approach of how we can be maybe having different things interact in the book to get us to certain clues as well.
All right, let's dive into the Discord detectives. Let us talk about the caveman controversy. Do you guys know what I'm talking about at all?
No.
Cody, do you know? He might be under his desk right now.
Cody's.
We'll come back to
No, I don't know, but
clomping downstairs
under my desk. I don't know. Carry on.
Okay. It's about the caveman crown in chapter 4. The chapter about emeralds. There's a quote in the book. The earliest emeralds were discovered in the crowns of cavemen. Yes, cavemen wore crowns, and emeralds were the only gemstones found in them. So this seems to be a very controversial statement because certainly the Discord is active with a few people talking about how this seems inherently untrue. And I've also done a modicum of research and have found no evidence of this being true either. So it's a very interesting statement, and debate is in why this is said in the book. So let me read a few passages from the Discord. Treasure Huntress says, in Chapter 4, page 52, paragraph 2, JCB is talking about how they discovered emeralds in the crowns of cavemen. Well, cavemen didn't have crowns. They didn't appear in the historical record until the Copper Age, which is roughly 30,000 years after the extinction of Neanderthals. So when I researched this, the only caveman connected to a crown I could find was in the movie Encino Man, 1992, when he almost gets crowned prom king. So any ideas on how Encino Man might relate to our hunt? Indiana Holmes says, has anyone been able to corroborate or disprove Jon's claim that the earliest emeralds were found in the crowns of cavemen? Shastro says, man, I looked for this and I couldn't find a single caveman crown with emeralds in it. I can't believe my search history sometimes. Dill Pickle Jar says, quote unquote, cavemen have been found adorned with jewelry, but I cannot find a single source that mentions emeralds specifically. They refer to the stones as gems. Shiver Me Timbers writes, JCB writes, yes, cavemen wore crowns and emeralds were the only gemstones found in them. I find this statement to be part true, part false. Definitely a clue. Yes, cavemen could have worn crowns, but if you go searching for information about them on the internet, good luck. Most prehistoric finds are jewelry, necklaces, and some date back 100,000 years or more. Given that emeralds were hard to find and had to be mined, I don't know if cavemen would just get lucky and find them laying around. Also, the wording of yes, cavemen wore crowns is out of character with the rest of his writing style. All right, comments so far.
I am very much on the side of like it feels very weird and potentially just like incorrect, but it also seems wrong that he would just be stating false things as facts in this type of book.
And he doubled down, right? He could have just said that,
Yeah.
but then he also says yes, like in case you were questioning it in your mind, he says yes, cavemen wore crowns.
Yeah, it's very weird that nobody can find any evidence of this. If he had these researchers, that's a whole nother debate. If he had these researchers, it's like what would they have had access to that is just void on the internet? Like
Right.
that seems very odd.
Yeah, because I did kind of the same thing that was mentioned here. Started with cavemen. I'm like, well, maybe he used Neanderthal, maybe he used Homo sapien, Homo erectus, things like this, like different terms besides caveman that might not get you a internet hit, but it all came up totally dry.
I guess my only other thought is he trying to hint at something? I mean, kind of, I guess maybe similar to what the Huntress was saying. Like, is he maybe trying to get us to think in a different way about what a caveman is? Is there some sort of wordplay with that?
Yeah, that's definitely why I chose Treasure Huntress's comment. Was exactly your point, Bryn. Is there a different way to think about this? Is that it could be true in some context, but
even if he is doing that, it still feels very misleading, especially when he's like, oh, it can be fun. Like you can just read great stories. Like if you're just throwing in like things that are misleading or false, then
Right.
that seems backwards.
Yes.
Yeah, this is confusing.
Yeah.
I think that is like a known type of puzzle though, right? Or way of creating a hint in a puzzle is by giving a deliberately incorrect fact. I think I've heard that that's the case. I have a little bit of heartburn over the fact that it's not just like, it doesn't seem to be a verifiable, this is obviously an incorrect fact. It seems like a lot more nuance to it than that. And if it was just like, hey, George Washington was the president in 1950, and you're like, oh no, he wasn't. That's one thing. But to be like, hey, here's the thing where there's like multiple different resources that are kind of giving slightly different answers, and you're supposed to come up with something. You're supposed to come to the conclusion that I've given you an incorrect fact based off that. That seems a little harder to swallow, I think. Almost as hard to swallow as a camera just stopping working.
Yeah.
This thing's broken. I wasn't even touching it. It's been plugged in and working for years, and just like the light's out, and I've unplugged it and replugged it in, and it's done.
It's dead. Sorry, Cody.
You gotta use some of our YouTube funds to buy you a new camera.
I'm coming back next week with the 8K camera, ultra high def.
Look out.
I thought we already used those to buy mini blizzards.
Oh yeah, the mini blizzard fund. I haven't had a mini blizzard in so long. Ooh.
Sounds like you guys are going to Best Buy and then Dairy Queen.
I do like, to get us slightly back on track here, I do like the take of maybe it's some sort of riddle, and the caveman isn't really a face value caveman, or the crown is not really a face value crown, something like that. Definitely worth looking into a little bit more. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I think it's a super cool idea that's getting tossed around. The quotes I gave here were kind of from all over the board, starting in February of this year all the way up till recently. So I know it's been tossed around a bit on Discord, and again, as with most things, maybe not a satisfying answer yet, but certainly interesting to point out.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully this keeps the discussion going. Get some momentum going.
Mm-hmm. All right. Should we dive into the coincidence of the day? Sorry, the music's not playing. I can't find it.
It's okay.
We're falling apart.
The thing's, oh, there it is.
Breaking.
Bryn, you have coincidence of the day.
My coincidence. I was working out the other morning. I was on my Peloton, and so Peloton is, if you don't know, like online cycling classes, workout classes. So basically, you have like a leaderboard of other people who are in the class with you at the same time, and people usually have some sort of clever username. And I was taking this cycling class, and the person right below me, I will add, not above me, below me. It was Coltrane fam.
Ooh.
It's like all excited. A Coltrane fan, and then sometimes it will say like what state someone's from as well. The Coltrane fam from North Carolina.
Wow!
Folks.
Wow!
The birthplace of John Coltrane.
All coming back. Huh? That's a great coincidence. Nice.
It was pretty funny.
Great. Well, I think that's an episode. We will start putting together our state of the treasure hunt, the state of there's treasure inside for next week, and catch you guys next week.
Let's all wave bye, Cody.
Oh, yeah.
Searching for clues, let's find you. Left and